Don't you hate it when you made a song with some people and somebody registers the song without everybody's consent and then they copyright it, or even worse, a sync opportunity comes in, you don't get any money, but you hear about it because you got a random royalty statement or you heard about it on social media. This is a very real scenario. Split sheets will cure all of this, but it's not in the way that you think. Many know how to use a split sheet on the way in, but I want to show you how to use its superpowers to reverse these scandalous actions. Your split sheet gives you 3 reversible superpowers that I've had to use on every occasion, and I'm going to show you how to do it as well. Number 1 is you get access to correct PRO and mechanical registrations. Now, if somebody registers a song that you wrote or produced incorrectly at a PRO, your first thought is to log in and correct it yourself, right? Cool. I get it, but your PRO doesn't, and they don't want to hear all that. The solution is to request the work change, but they will ask you for proof of the percentage you want to change it to. This is a problem now. Now, if you don't have this proof, then the incorrect PRO registrations will stay the same, and they will directly affect the mechanical registrations because they look to the PRO for clarification. However, if you do get this proof, you can certainly make those changes. All you have to do is obtain a split sheet with all the writers on it with signatures. Then you need to obtain a copy of a producer's contract with the splits on it, or obtain a copy of the publisher's agreement with the splits that you own on it. Now, if you think getting splits is hard, try not being able to get a portion of your money from the game that you need to survive. At the end of the day, paperwork is king. Superpower number 2 is access to change copyright registrations. And boy, do you need this one. Now, in many cases, a record label will register your copyrights for for the sound recordings, AKA the masters, and that's fine. However, for your compositions, AKA the works of the performing arts, that registration will be left up to the creators to handle, which almost all of the time gets handled incorrectly, especially if we're talking about independent stuff. Now, obviously the solution is to change it so that it correctly displays the claimants properly, so you can now have the ownership you're supposed to have, proof of it. Now, not having proper ownership of your copyrights can greatly affect deals and how you leverage your catalog later for money. If you claim your ownership properly early, you'll save yourself a lot of headache later when you so badly need that check 20 years down the line. Now, you need proof of ownership that you were one of the original authors or claimants, and this comes by way of a split sheet or a contract. This is the only tool that the Copyright Office will allow you to use to make those changes. Contract or split sheet. You then file for a supplemental or amplification registration to change the work, and the new changes will be attached to the original registrations. Now, side note, you cannot change ownership. You can only record its transfer. If you need to add new owners, you can most definitely add new owners to it, or if there was some misspellings to the claimants, you can do that. But you cannot change the ownership to the original registration. You have to record its transfer. Now, if doing paperwork is too difficult, then just think about all the arguments that will ensue if one day a company wants to do a deal with you and buy out your catalog for a substantial amount of money, or later on, you know that you can leverage $1 million, 2, 3, 4, 5 million, and you don't have none of this proof or nothing. You got to gather all this stuff to make the deal happen. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. And this is money that you weren't even generating on your music, and you can't do it because you can't prove that you own it. At the end of the day, paperwork equals money. So far we've covered PROs, mechanical, and copyright registrations. But this next part is where many of you guys and your teams are going to fight the most, which is sync and sample clearances. So stay with me. And side note, if you need a strong business foundation to run your record label with step-by-step instructions to learn how to do all this stuff I'm talking about, grab my 60-day record label system, complete with my funding partners to fund some of the stuff that you're going to need to do with your personal record label. Now, number 3, superpower number 3 is access to collect sync and sample clearance money. Now, if you've ever been in a position to have a sync opportunity or sample clearance handed to you, you know the first thing that they're going to ask is who owns the master and who owns the publishing. And if that request came to you, you'd be the first person to say, I own everything, and you'll worry about the rest of the stuff later, depending on the size of the check or the opportunity. This is about to be a mountain of confusion and arguments, but eradicating this greed could be done with the split sheet from the jump. Now, if you don't get the split sheet, then it may not be you who is the greedy one, but someone else who wrote the song who just so happened to have been contacted first that will take the opportunity and lie to the synchronization agency or sample clearance agency to say that they have what's called a one-stop agreement in place. However, if you have a split sheet on hand and did your registrations properly, this won't be a problem at all, okay? Now, all you have to do is fill out a split sheet, sign any contracts that you need to sign, and depending on your position, create a one-stop agreement so that you don't have this problem. Tarnished and broken relationships are worse than the contracts that represent them. So, number 1, get a split sheet done for every song. Number 2, use those splits for the registration. Number 3, obtain a one-stop agreement if necessary. The goal is to truly understand that split sheets create opportunities, increase your money, and save relationships. The real question isn't should you do this, it's how much longer can you afford not to. Now, if you need help with this or anything else, calls are back open. You can book a call or join our group strategy calls every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time inside the Music Money Makers community. So click below to join right now today. Again, if you think that getting splits done is hard, try not being able to get a portion of your money from the game that you need to survive. Just think about all the arguments that will ensue if you don't, because tarnished relationships, as I said, are worse than the contracts that represent them. So some of you won't do this and it's going to cost your relationships, which may depress you a bit and make you say screw it or them or everybody. You don't want to be that person. But at the end of the day, if you were struggling with should you create the split sheet or not, you now know why you need it. You now know that it's not just some document that people are just saying, oh, we'll get it later. Music Money Makers, if you make music, you should always make money. Log on to musicmoneymakeover.com, grab the 60-day record label system complete with my funding partners. Join the Music Money Makers community, book a call, grab the free stuff, watch this video right here to save your career, and I'll see you next time. Peace.